Adam and Matt.
It is Geeks of Steel Podcast, back after the Thanos snap. I'm Adam.
And I'm Matt, and I made it. I'm back.
Both made it. We who knew that Thanos snapped in like a year and a half ago or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, spoilers, we came back.
Yep.
Matt
And
said, on your left, and I was like, oh shit, there's Matt.
And here we are.
It's probably sounding like garbage right now. Folks, I have put away the Geeks of Steel studio equipment, which is really just an old PC. And we decided to do this again. And I've forgotten everything on how to record this stuff. And I thought I had it all plugged in right. I don't. So we're recording a Skype call. So that's why this sounds the way it does. It can sound better. And hopefully if we do keep doing this, it will sound better.
But you know what? If you don't like it, tough.
All
right. This is what you're getting.
You consider yourselves lucky to get this.
Exactly. All right, let's get into it. We're starting out. We're going to talk about. Yeah.
First of all, hold on. I before I forget, before we run out of time, you're like, we all know that Matt's like really close to like, being an expert in Hollywood movies and digital effects. What are your thoughts, real quick, on this whole Sonic the Hedgehog thing that the director's gonna go back and in 6-7 months he's gonna like redo the whole Sonic character? I just gotta know what you think. You have the most educated opinion of anyone I know.
So here's the deal. Okay, it is an awful character design. It really is. It's honestly very, very bad.
Yeah.
I don't think that the time they're going to spend and the energy they're going to spend redoing Sonic is going to translate to dollars for them. Really? You know what I mean?
I kind of feel like, hey, they kind of won over some people who might give this thing a chance, who were originally going to say, no, I'm not going anywhere near this thing. If it looked like classic Sonic and maybe he had some like real hair or whatever, I don't think I would have cared any more about this movie. Like, the only reason why I actually care about this movie is because Sonic looks so bad. So when he says he's going back and changing it, part of me was like, oh, I'm just starting to have fun with this. Like, But don't you feel there's a little bit of internet guilt that like we pressured a whole movie studio to change their movie so that, well, now I feel kind of like obligated to, like, hey, I've actually made this change.
So it kind of happened with Snakes on a Plane, right? Where, remember that Snakes on a Plane was like this it was sort of a serious movie, but like it sort of took off on the internet after that initial trailer. So they went back and reshot a bunch of stuff to kind of make it more goofy and more Sam Jackson-y. And
it's bombed, I know.
It's still bombed. It translated to like nothing. So I think that we're seeing. I don't think that anybody who was really excited about a live action Sonic movie, was going to not see this film because of the silly looking Sonic character. And I don't think they've gained any more of an audience. You know what I mean? I don't think that many people really care.
I see what you're saying. That's a different way of looking at it than I was thinking. I can't say that you're wrong.
Now, whether or not they can pull it off or not, I think
that's what I want to know. Can they do this? Can they do this? Do you have time to do this?
It would be very, very tight. It's going to require a lot of. I mean, I bet the artists working on this film were like, "Son of a bitch."
Well, they had to know. Like, oh, are you sure about this? This looks like a PS1 kind of game with like that, like a cutscene with that shitty, like weird Canny Valley looking shit.
Yeah, I mean, likely. So this movie is going to come out in November, which means they were likely not finished with the special effects anyway, right? Mm-hmm. They're likely in the middle of it. They finished up a few shots for the trailer, so they've still got a lot of time. I mean, the big question is going to be how well the new model is going to translate to the already pre-created animation.
Right. Well, wait, now am I okay? am I right? And I saw someone say like, I know about animation, and trust me, they already have the wireframe, the model, and everything, and they're just going to essentially kind of reskin it. But is that not how that works?
It's not. I mean, to a certain degree, they can. They certainly can, but there's still going to need to be, pardon me, a lot of a lot of custom animation to get like hands to work right, feet to get placed on the ground correctly, all this kind of thing. There's going to be a lot of custom work to be done to make it look just right. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. When it comes to video games, you have character rigs, which is essentially the skeleton that makes them move, that are kind of customizable. You have one and you can sort of swap skins to place on top of them. But you're swapping skins with something that is very similar to it anyway, right? It's Soldier A and Soldier B are pretty similar. They just are, they have different attachments to their bodies, right. Guns in their hands and hats on their heads and that kind of thing. If they're going to create a Sonic character that's very similar or in the same vein of the Sonic from the video game, you're talking something with really big head and hands and feet and skinny legs and small body. And there's going to be some weird translation that goes along with that. And I think they're going to have to redo a lot of the animation as well because of it.
And here's the thing, not to mention the fact that they can't just start doing this now. They have to have meetings with people to agree on a new design.
Right.
And who knows, I don't know how long that takes.
Yeah.
Everyone is like, put the little green check mark, like, yes, I approve.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the sad thing is like artists all along the way were probably telling them like, hey, this design could use some work. Like, this is not a design that a professional artist would have come up with. This is designed by committee. You know what I mean? I
kept looking, I was like, there's no way an artist did this. This has to be an executive order from someone who's not a digital artist or an artist in general. It's like a more realistic looking thing. And it should have it should look like a person in a suit with a big head.
Yeah.
And the eyes don't look right. And anyway.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I just hope whatever the new design is, it's even worse so that we can have even more fun with it. You know what I mean? Because I was really loving the memes coming from this. I think that maybe the movie might have actually done better had they not fixed it.
I think you're out of your mind.
I don't know. We'll see, I guess.
All right. Avengers End Game. Do you want to do your 3-word review to start us off?
Yes. We're going to spoil this thing.
Oh yeah, spoilers.
Spoilers.
I think everyone was saying like you have to wait a week, and I think we're beyond a week. So
yeah, by the time this comes out, we're beyond a week for sure.
Yeah.
3-word review. Man.
Well, you went online, didn't you?
The one I put online was End of an Era.
Yeah.
But I keep hearing people saying like, "Oh, can't wait for the next one." For me, it's like
But you're right though. It still is an end of an era. I mean,
it is an end of an era.
Original Avengers era,
Exactly. Leading up to this movie, I was excited for this film because I was just kind of ready to get over with superhero films. I'm kind of done with them.
Yeah.
So for me, this movie was like a good way to sort of send off superhero films. I don't really want to see anymore.
I can put away such childish things. I've grown up. I'm a man now.
Exactly.
Put away childish things. I can get back to normal movies.
What about you? What would you give the film?
My 3-word review was like for the fans. That was my 3-word review. Because holy shit, you have to be. I mean, even the very first Avengers movie, they kind of. I don't know. I feel like you could kind of go in not really knowing the movies, but knowing the characters, you could kind of quickly catch up because the characters were being introduced to each other just as we were being introduced to this group and everything.
Right.
This movie, we just start off with freaking Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
And like she's just there. Yeah. Like, I guess they just assume everyone saw Captain Marvel. So no one.
And I did not see Captain Marvel.
Oh, really?
I was a little concerned because I was like, is she going to be a huge part in this? And luckily, it didn't seem like I missed anything.
Yeah.
Not seeing Captain Marvel.
I had that worry too. I was like, is she could be like this big nuclear bomb. They just keep pointing to everything and she just takes care of everything.
Yeah.
And unfortunately she doesn't become that, but.
So for me, it's funny. I took a look back at our old podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
I think our first review of a MCU film was the first Thor in 2011. That recording was made.
God.
Holy cow, right?
A lifetime ago.
How long have you been doing this? This is insane.
and clearly too long. Clearly we were supposed to stop somewhere. Jesus.
I know, man.
Or movie. I saw a screen cap of that, like a picture of Chris Hemsworth doing something from that first Thor movie. I was like, boy, he looks weird. He looks so different. And he was very taking himself seriously, Thor, not the the fun Thor we have now.
Yeah, and that's one thing, like looking at this film and kind of looking back at where everything came. First of all, this is a remarkable film that this even exists, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've listened to other reviews and we're a little like, everyone else's review seems to be like, oh my God, so great. We're a little reserved. I think it's because we've had a week to like sit and ponder this thing, right? Yeah. Whereas everyone else's review came out right away. I know right away I was very, very excited, having seen this film and just been like, I can't believe. And even sitting here today, I still can't believe that these films were made. You know what I mean? I remember listening to the commentary on like Lord of the Rings. And they're saying like, never is this ever going to happen again, where a film like this is going to get made. And I still kind of believe it. That type of film, I don't know that that's ever going to be made again. And then you get to like these 22 films. Is that right? 22 films.
I think that's the number people were saying.
Man, this 22 film arc.
Yeah. I
don't know that you're ever going to see something like that again in Hollywood. You know, the world is changing so much. The face of cinematography of films is changing so much. I don't know that like that Hollywood can kind of sustain this giant universe with all these films and characters like this again. I don't, you know what I mean?
It does seem kind of like, no, it's kind of almost like the first Lord of the Rings trilogy. It was like kind of lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
Like perfect time, perfect place to come out with these movies.
Perfect actors. Like all the actors they got for the Marvel movies are incredible, you know? And some of them were fantastic before these Marvel films. And some of them we found out, you know, through these films how great they are, you know?
I remember seeing someone posted a picture of this old news article, like the creator of the maker of the Thor filmmakers behind the Thor movie are going with unknowns. There's a photo of Chris Hemsworth and a photo of I forget his name. The guy who plays Loki. Oh yeah,
Tom Hiddleston.
Tom Hiddleston. Right. Like what? Complete unknowns. I'm like, oh man, how quaint, you know?
Yeah. It's it's really incredible that these films and Thor. Who would have thought? Like, so Thor is like the first movie that we reviewed on the show, and I think at the time I remember kind of being like a little like, hey, they kind of pulled it off. Like I was worried it kind of didn't look great, but you know, it turned out pretty well. And now we take a look at Thor, and you're right. He's a completely different character. Like it's a completely different thing. He's changed so much over the years. I think I heard somewhere too where Chris Hemsworth was kind of like done with the Thor character and ready to get out. But then they did Thor Ragnarok, and he's like, oh, okay, this is something that I'm interested in again.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, the fact that they let him cut his hair, like, can I at least? I heard somewhere else that they were saying how, like, you know, he was interviewed and he was saying like, you know, it's rough, you know, eating the kind of food you have to eat and doing the workout regimen you have to do to be this character.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
You know, it's like I kind of want a cheeseburger. I don't want to be working out all day and be watching my calories constantly for just a silly comic book movie, you know. Yeah. And yeah, it's like I want a damn break, you know. I almost kind of wonder if it was like that was kind of their concession, like, hey, we'll let you be fat. And I was like, rock on, all right, let's do this movie.
Oh man, okay, let's get into the movie itself.
All right.
So
22 days after Thanos used his Infinity Gauntlet to by the way, I'm just gonna read the Wikipedia entry.
Oh, okay.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Well, how do you want to break this down? You want to go by scene, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, let's do scene by scene.
Okay, so first of all, let's break it down this way. Let's break it down in these chunks. We have the beginning of the movie to Thor cutting off Thanos' head.
Sure.
You got the whole. It's not even a first act. It's almost like a truncated first act. Very short.
Yeah. No,
but
definitely.
A lot of stuff happens. First of all, what do you think of the Deus Ex Machina of Captain Marvel just finding Tony Stark and Nebula?
That didn't bother me. Look,
yeah.
Overall, it's funny. Like, I went back and rewatched. What did I rewatch? I rewatched a few of the Marvel movies, some more recent ones, Ragnarok, I think, and I definitely rewatched Avengers Infinity War.
The stuff that was on Netflix, essentially.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. That. And I realized, like, wow, you really have to just, suspend a lot of disbelief in these Marvel films.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of this stuff is like, oh, that's their superpower? Okay. Oh, they can do this now? Okay. Oh, this, you know what I mean? Like, there's so much stuff that you just have to go along for the ride.
Well, it's funny they got to this point where I remember when Iron Man came out and we're thinking, like, boy, can they actually do Thor? Because Iron Man's so grounded.
Exactly.
It's all technology. It's all real.
Yeah. It all feels very real.
Cut to Endgame and there's a chick riding a Pegasus and you're just like, yeah, all right.
Exactly. Where the Pegasus come from, nobody knows.
No, I don't.
It looks cool.
Yep, it should be there. Supposedly Howard the Duck is in there as well.
Oh yeah, well he was in one of the Guardians movies, so
I know, but like he was actually there for the fight.
Sure, why not?
I know, that's why I was like, yeah, sure, yeah, go for it. And honestly, at first I felt a little annoyed when like Carol Danvers showed up. I was like, oh, that's a little convenient. I've since cooled on that feeling.
Yeah.
Because I think someone said, "Oh yeah, she would have came." Because in the end of Captain Marvel, she flies back and like, what happened to Nick Fury? Because he paged her at the end of Infinity War.
Oh,
and they're like, "Oh, Rocket would have said, hey, I was on that planet. They went to this planet and I haven't heard from anybody since." So she just went that way and ran into them. I was like, okay, yeah. we can go with that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was fine with it. I didn't see Captain Marvel, so I didn't know any of that stuff. But for me, it was like, oh, there she is.
Yeah.
He's got to get back somehow, so it might as well be her.
It is interesting that they just, like I said, they just started this movie like, here she is, and then like Don Cheadle's like, hey, new girl or whatever, and it's like, wow, and also the whole second act of the movie where you just play Back to the Future Part 2, like, well, you have to. I mean, I've never seen a movie where you have to see the other movies.
Oh, so,
yeah. This movie makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, I felt that way with Endgame. I was like, or Endgame, Infinity War. I was like, oh my God, like there's no way anybody can walk into this film having not seen the others. And then this one just said, this was my hat.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean when I was saying like, this is for the fans. Like, boy, I've never seen a movie that is so much fan service.
Yeah.
But I like it. Usually I'm kind of an anti-fan, like, give me a story. Don't give me fan service. This I was kind of okay with,
Sure. Yeah. All right. So they get him back to Earth. He's all skinny and upset.
Which that took me a while to figure out that he was actually like legitimately skinny.
Oh, he looked it to me, but I couldn't figure out if it was CG or what they did with him.
Well, at first I was like, is this a bad angle? Is it the light? It looks really bad. And then you see him later on Earth, they're like, oh no, he's like, I was like, maybe they Benjamin buttoned him a little bit to make him look thin, or maybe he just, lost some weight, but like, oh, he's actually like emaciated,
Yeah. So he gets back to Earth. Tell me what's going on here. I'm forgetting a little bit.
Earth, he's yelling at Captain America. He sees him finally. Because I don't think, they didn't see each other at all in Infinity War, if I'm right? They were in the same fight, but I don't think they actually talked to each other.
I don't think they ever did, yeah.
They didn't share a scene together. This is the first scene they actually have together since Civil War, and he's mad at him. He's like,
sure,
F it, we lost. I know. I should see this movie again before I do a review. I'm just kind of like... But I remember, here's the thing, too. Like, yeah, he's almost at death's door, so he just sits this one out.
Yeah.
And everyone else says, let's go get Thanos. We know where he is. Nebula's like, I know right where he is. And even Rocket Raccoon confirms it because, hey, this energy signature happened when he snapped his fingers. It happened again on this planet. Let's go get him.
Yeah.
Which right there, you kind of know something's up because, like, well, I thought this would be the end of the movie. You know, this whole let's go get Thanos. So you get to the garden. There's Thanos being a sad little purple gardener. And they come in and just start. It almost feels kind of cruel the way they just burst in and start beating him up. You know what I mean? Like you would think they would have come in and make an announcement like, "We're here for you, Thanos. Give her over the." No, they just go in and I mean, I guess you could argue they still thought he had the stone, so they had to go in swinging. I guess.
And they did a really great job making Thanos a sympathetic villain. You know what I mean? Like he really truly feels like he did a good thing.
Right.
Like he became the bad guy to do something good for the world. And everyone will eventually come to understand and appreciate the good thing that he did. Right. That's his feeling on the whole matter. And he ends Endgame. I mean, the Endgame. Why do I say Endgame? Infinity War ends with him smiling and kind of looking, like he's like, like now I can finally rest. It's not like he's not like grinning over like a red cauldron of blood. It's just he's retired to the pastures now. And so like, yeah, there is a little bit of a sympathetic side to him, even though he is so evil, which is really fascinating because that's something Marvel's always struggled with every single movie. I think, like the common through line for every single Marvel movie is like, they're going to fight a terrible villain.
Well, with the exception of Loki.
Exception of Loki, right? Exactly.
And even his plan was a little wonky in Avengers, but you still liked him. He was still a fun character to watch.
Right. He was fun to watch for sure. Yeah.
My God, the Marvel movies have had some just bland. Is there a worse Marvel villain than that Dark Elf?
Oh, he's the worst.
Was he? I think we can all agree. I think the Ronan the Accuser from Guardians might be like a close second.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I've watched that film a lot, so I've come to appreciate that character a little bit more than the fourth or fifth time around. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they kill him, and the stones are gone. And what were you thinking at that point?
I don't know what I was thinking at that point. I remember thinking like. I think I was thinking like, well, we haven't seen Ant-Man yet. And everything.
So you knew that whole Ant-Man thing.
Well, I mean, I knew he was going to make an appearance in the movie.
Sure.
Because, he was in one of the trailers like, hey guys, it's me. I
didn't see any of the trailers, by the way.
Really? He was they made him like the last little bit on one of the trailers, like, hey, it's me. And like, Black Widow and Captain America are like, looking at him on the live feed where he's like waving at him on the camera. So I was like, okay, I haven't seen Ant-Man yet. And people have been speculating like, oh, there's the quantum realm. And there's that scene where they all have the same suits. The white. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
The trailers, they all showed like them just walking around in the white suits, and I was like,
I did see that. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, that's them going to do something. So I was like, all right, we're plan A, didn't work very well, but what the movie's really gonna be about plan B.
I figured those white suits were like special, Thanos punching suits or something. Like they had some protection over one of the stones or something. You know what I mean? I didn't put enough thought into it to think about the quantum realm or any of that.
I didn't know. I was like, they're going somewhere like spacey. And that's their little spacesuit.
Right, exactly.
Sure what they were going to do. I wasn't prepared for what came right after that, though, where it cuts to black and it says 5 years later.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I actually said, just this is the way the world has been for 5 years.
Yeah.
That I kind of applaud them for. I was like, I felt like that was kind of a bold move to say, yeah, they screwed up and they screwed up for a while.
I liked it.
It was a mistake.
Yeah. And I like seeing them sort of have to deal with the consequences of a world affected by their mistakes. You know what I mean? Like they lived it.
And it was depressing too to see like, wow, Captain America's just working this like self-help, well, not self-help. What am I saying? Support group.
Right. But he's still like the positive Captain America, like, chin up, guys.
But still, it felt like, but you should have your suit on doing something. Like just in some place that smells of bad coffee and crappy metal chairs, and you're just talking to people. Like, I guess it's cute and it makes him very humble and very normal guy. But it's like, oh, this is like, is this? I mean, I guess it was what it was supposed to be, which is depressing. Like this is what our heroes have become. They just Natasha, the Black Widow, sits around making peanut butter sandwiches, thinking that she's still running Shield, which she's not. She's just running remnants or whatever this is, you know. It would be interesting if Marvel ever decides to show you what those 5 years were like.
Well, I heard they're making a Black Widow movie, so maybe that would be where she shows up. I don't know. It might be interesting.
I don't know. Don't you kind of feel like that's the one Marvel character you just don't give a crap about?
Well, I disagree. I think Hawkeye is the one you don't care about.
Although Hawkeye, well, here's the thing. You can make a Hawkeye movie and he'd be doing all these cool little bullseye tricks where he'd be, you know, just making these impossible shots with the bow and arrow. All Black Widow it's just the TV show Alias. That's as far as
I mean, I think there's something to the Russian espionage thing that I think is kind of cool, right? You know? I don't know.
I don't need to see any more of that stuff. All right.
So, yeah.
5 years later, the world is crap. And then the world would have stayed that way had it not been for one rat. One rat.
Yeah.
If this self-storage place had like fumigated properly, this is the way it would be forever. Thanos would still be, well, he'd still be dead, but now what did you do? That is even more at that point. It's almost kind of like the movie knows, like, yeah, we know, come on. It's the last one we're doing these for a while, you know. Let us activate the thing with a mouse.
There's a little bit of this in this movie for sure. I didn't catch it when I saw it in the theaters that it was the mouse that activated it, honestly.
Yeah.
I saw a mouse there like eating cheese or whatever, and then he pops out the back. I didn't put two and two together.
I was like, oh my God, are they really gonna just say it's just this goddamn mouse? I mean, I guess it was one of those things like where we're sitting around in a writer's room, like, how can we have him? Who can bring him back? Who knows to activate this? And someone just said, screw it, just a rat runs over the buttons. And runs over the right buttons too.
Right, exactly.
Run over the buttons just to deactivate the whole thing and shut all the power down.
Yeah. So he pops out and he's like, what's been going on?
I don't know who's the hero. I don't know if the rat or Ant-Man is the hero of this movie, really. Because Ant is the whole reason we could do this, but the whole reason we could do this is because the rat brought Ant-Man back.
Right.
They're the two leads of this movie. Yeah, Scott comes back. And I like that he actually have like, he went to like a place where they had like the tombstones.
Yeah.
Like this little, like, you know, memorial, and found his daughter, which I thought was like, oh, that's cute because the girl, I assume it's the same actress. Like, you can't stop kids from aging, and they age very fast.
Right.
You know, so I was like, oh, that's a cute way to probably keep, I assume that's the same actress. But just to say, oh yeah, she grew up, you know.
Well, because it's 5 years later, right?
And you know, I think some people said they didn't like this, or maybe they found it corny, but I like the fact that, like, she was a little girl, and like his whole thing is about getting bigger and smaller, and she just naturally got bigger.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was just a cute little, like, he's like, oh, you're so big. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm a dad now, so I think that shit's cute. So.
Isn't it funny how, like, your whole perspective on the world changes when you become a dad?
Oh my God, it does.
It's ridiculous, right? Isn't it?
Oh, I can't. There was something I was watching not that long ago, and I had a completely different reaction to it. Now being a dad, real sappy shit, you know.
Yeah. Yep. That happens. All right. So what happens here? I can't remember. He ends up in Avengers headquarters.
Gets back to Avengers headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, drinking a beer.
Drink away.
Oh. All right. Now I'm good. You know, if we were a professional, we'd cut that out, but we're really good. Gets back to Avengers headquarters, starving, eats Black Widow's sandwich, and immediately starts having the ideas of using the quantum realm to go back in time. and we could go back in time and fix all this. Now, here's the thing. Michael Douglas, Hank Pym, he was a guy that understood time travel. And just got small. So I never felt like he really had a handle on this stuff.
Yeah, he certainly wasn't the brains in the operation.
But I guess he just had the idea, and then they went to Bruce Banner. Okay, now I'm kind of sussing out the logic. It's like he didn't necessarily understand. He just knew, like, hey, time works different in quantum realm. If we get someone smart, they can actually do this. That's why they had to get Big Hulk, which I think that might be the biggest surprise of this whole movie.
Is Hulk?
Kudos to Marvel for keeping that shit under wraps.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the kind of thing that you would think would get out. That would be, and I think maybe some people have shown some pictures of like some Endgame toys that had Hulk in a suit, but like, okay, they got him in a suit, but he does look very like normal and not like a Hulk angry clothes. You know, it's like,
yeah.
But just like that was one of those moments like, wow, I did not see that coming. I did not see that coming, that he's just going to be a CGI character through this whole movie.
Yeah. Well, and when you talk about like for the fans, I mean, that Hulk has been in the past. I don't know where he is now in the Marvel books, but he has been kind of smart Hulk,
right?
You know, where he was basically just Bruce Banner, but in Hulk form, and he wasn't angry and hulking out the whole time. You know, he's doing his scientific experiments with his giant scientific white coat on and everything, and you know, he's doing all that stuff. So like, way to go for them for doing something really kind of bizarre and different with Hulk that the general movie audience has never seen before and would have to kind of just accept and roll with it in this film, you know?
But I love it. I love it so much because and that's the thing, is everyone's a little bit different. Tony Stark's emaciated, and I guess Captain America is still Captain America.
Yeah.
Thor's fat.
Yeah.
Wait, when did we get Thor? Okay, so it's like, hey, we could do time travel. All right, I know someone who's smart. They go get Hulk. They have the cute moment with the kids and the camera. And and what was it? Like Hulk just said like he was just experimenting with gamma radiation and he just became normal. He just experimented. He just futzed with himself until he became that. Is that what was that?
He said maybe he was saying like he just learned to like live with it or something or accept it.
Like,
I can't remember.
Look at it. Well, Hulk is a curse, but maybe he's like a cure.
Yeah.
He says something to that effect.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he gets Hulk and they start doing experiments and they figure out, oh, wait a minute. No, they get Banner, but he's like, oh man, we really should have seen this movie one more time. But they get Banner on board, but then they realize they need Tony Stark.
Yeah.
They need his mind.
Sure.
And they go out and they say, hey, we want to do some time travel stuff. Go fix all this. And here's the thing. Tell me if you feel this way. They go to Tony Stark's house. He's got a daughter. And as soon as she comes out, I'm like, holy shit, I know what's going to happen. They're going to go back in time to go fix all this. But there's going to be a situation where they could fix all of it, but then they're going to erase this timeline, which means Tony will erase his daughter, and he has to make that choice. And of course, he's going to have to make the tough choice. So I was like, that's the thing. I think as a dad, I was like, oh no, this kid's going to be wiped from existence. That's going to suck. And so I actually love the fact. I don't know about you. I love their idea of time travel. It's like, no, we go back to the past. We can do whatever we want. It's going to create alternate timelines. Our future still, this present we're in still stays the same.
Yeah.
We're just going to create alternate timelines. That's all we're going to do. So I kind of was like, oh, okay. So we don't have to murder the daughter.
Yeah. I will say that I don't know that I totally understand the logic behind the time travel in this movie. And granted, time travel anyway it's always wonky in the movie. It's always wonky and weird in the movies and stuff. But the idea that like somehow you're not like changing the future, but like you're creating all their other, I get there, you're creating other alternate times, but somehow you're able to like maintain the alternate times if you return the stones back to the place. I don't remember.
I know.
But I'll tell you what, when I first saw that girl, what I was thinking was, oh, here is the new Iron Man.
Oh, really?
They're going to give it a few years, and then they're going to do a new Iron Man movie, and it's going to be her. Because she had on the helmet and she had on the little glove thing that she had made, and she like that was her introduction into the Marvel universe, was her dressed as Iron Man. I thought that was a little less than subtle hint that she would one day become Iron Man. And it kind of makes sense, right? She's probably going to be a smart kid. She's going to grow up having this father that she looked up to and loved. And she has access to all his toys in the garage that she loves to play with already, right? Huh?
Right. I'm with you.
Some people think it's the boy from the third movie. I disagree. I think it's her.
Or it's both of them.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So Tony figures out time travel,
which I heard some people say that they felt it was implied that Tony, even though he was like, you guys, I'm done. I'm not doing this stuff anymore. I moved on. So should you. You could stay as long as you don't talk shop, and they just leave. And then you see him working on it in his office.
Right.
Some people have implied that that secretly he'd been doing this for a while, trying to time travel. But I still feel like it wasn't until they showed up and then they started talking to him that he started looking into it.
Wouldn't that be cool if he was working on it for a while, though?
I don't know which I like better. I mean, it's an interesting idea that even though he's like, I'm done with this, deep down he's been looking for a way out. Right. But it's a little too convenient that after they met with him that he figured it out.
Well, it'd been interesting if there had been this struggle, right, where he doesn't want to change his future because he's got this wonderful family, but at the same time, he kind of knows he has to. Like for everyone else out there who isn't a trillionaire. Oh, man. So he figures it out. And he's like, holy shit. And I love that moment, by the way, that look on his face when he figures it out,
So shit.
He's just kind of like, it felt like old Tony again for the first time in a few movies, really. You know what I mean?
I know. It kind of made me kind of like nostalgic to watch all those times where he was always like when he was making the suit or when he was working on the plates or whatever in Iron Man 2 to fix his thing,
Yeah.
It's always fun to see Tony thinking and figuring out a problem.
Yeah, definitely.
It makes you kind of want to go home and just figure stuff out, be on a computer and just like, I'm not smart enough to do that stuff,
Yeah, definitely. It makes me take a look at my little workspace I have here in the basement and go like, man, this place is crap.
So he figures out time travel. And that's when we cut back to Avengers headquarters, and they're trying to do it without Tony's help. Right. And all they do, as far as the way Tony explains it, is they've been sending, instead of sending Scott Lang back through time, they sent time through Lang, which caused him to age and get older and smaller and stuff. Which is, at that point, I remember thinking like, okay, it's just gonna be that kind of movie.
Yeah.
Where the Ant-Man comes back and he's a little baby. And, it's like, it's starting to feel like a Warner Brothers cartoon,
Oh, yeah. Then he comes back, he's an old man. Then he comes back, he's normal. He says, I peed myself. I don't know which one.
And I feel like that's where, and I like that little storyline where, like, he comes back as a kid and then Hulk's like, he'll grow.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, almost like Hulk was willing to just like, hey, let's just turn off now. He'll become Scott eventually.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty funny. But the movie had good humor throughout. I was very happy for that.
That's funny. It's funny. All these Marvel movies have always had. That's the one thing that the DC is starting to pick up on.
Yeah,
people don't go to a superhero movie. I mean, yeah, people go to Christopher Nolan movies to be kind of like excited in a kind of depressing way.
Well, yeah, The Dark Knight happened, and it was a fantastic film, and everyone loved it. And DC just decided, like, oh, this is going to be how we do it. This is going to be the differentiator between us and Marvel, But it turns out that people, it works well for Batman. But
comic book movie.
What's that?
People like to have fun when they go to a comic book movie. They don't want to be depressed.
Exactly. And there's enough going on right now in our lives that are depressing us. We don't need any more.
I know. Well, and the thing is, like, if you think about it, if you break down, especially this movie, I feel like there are more scenes of humor than there are scenes of action.
I think so. I mean, it was, for the most part, a pretty chill movie. There wasn't a ton of action in this film. There's a lot of, like, sitting and reflecting and conversations and talking about, the good old days or whatever, And, I mean, there's that whole section where we sort of get reintroduced to Thor. it's a fairly lengthy section, you know, with not a lot of action, some humor, mostly around his body size, but you know, so very interesting that way.
It's funny. I feel like that scene was so good because first of all, it gave you something you weren't expecting to see.
Mm-hmm.
That's another one that kudos to Marvel for keeping the fact that fat Thor was going to be a thing. But then you have like tons of great jokes. He's yelling at kids playing Fortnite, you know?
Yeah.
He's just getting drunk. But then there's a great moment where like, you know, Bruce mentions Thanos' name and Thor stops and he's like, don't you ever say that name. Like, he got a little uptight about it. It was kind of interesting that Thor is kind of going through this life crisis, you know? It's almost like Tony Stark in Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
It was just kind of cool that he just kept this. And I'm surprised and I applaud Marvel for keeping him fat through the whole movie.
Oh yeah, especially like I was waiting for the scene where he like magic powered his way back into his hot, sexy spot again, and didn't happen all the way through the end fight scene. He's still Fat Thor. They sort of hit it a little bit, you know what I mean? They didn't like focus on the belly or anything. But
eventually they let him put a shirt on, and once he puts a shirt on, then you can.
Well, once he got took the sweats off and he kind of got into his costume again, it got hidden a little bit better. But
yeah.
But yeah, they didn't you know, mess with that too much. So that was cool. So okay, so they finally figure it out, right?
Right.
And so everyone's got their suits on. They got their white suits on. They're doing the slow walk.
Wait a minute. Are we missing something?
Are we missing stuff? I think we're missing stuff.
Tony comes in. It's like, I figured out time travel. No, I guess there is. I guess they just kind of jump. Oh no!
They had the conversation.
They have to break it down.
Like,
they have to have their game plan.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do? And they have to break. And they have to sit down. And that's where that movie. That's where Endgame became this beautiful little love letter to the fans.
Yeah, that is the point in the movie where I was like, are they going to do this? And when it became clear that they were going to do this, I was like, I wanted to stand up and slow clap at that point. I mean, brilliant idea, Marvel, to take your final film in this giant arc and turn it into Back to the Future 2, where you're just like, but instead of just going back into the previous film, you're going back into like all these other films that you loved or didn't love from the past. And I mean, we can talk about it when we get into it, but I was like, oh, like what a brilliant idea. You know what I mean? Just such a good idea.
And it makes me wonder at what point did Marvel, because, you know, they've been having like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So, you know, that Kevin Feige and a few other people are sitting around breaking down the basic beats. At the end of this movie, we're going to set this up. Yeah. At the end of this movie, we're setting this up, you know, and they have this great master plan. And like, how soon did they know we're going to, at the big Infinity War, we all knew after the first Avengers, we're heading to Thanos. Did they know, like, when did they know, like, hey, we'll have them go back in time and that way they get to go back to these old movies?
I think that it doesn't matter because I personally think they did a really poor job of it.
Really?
So this is where I have some qualms. Qualms is a word? I think it's a word.
That's a word.
About this film. I don't think they did a good job.
Oh, this is so exciting because I feel the opposite. So finally, we're going to start having some disagreements here. So right now, we've just been like recapping the movie and just agreeing that everything's awesome. All right, so they get the game plan. They figure out like where everyone's going to break up, which I can never keep track of who was going where, you know, what's. I don't know about you. I can never remember. There's Loki's stick,
and then I could never remember these. And
then there's like a cube, but Loki's stick doesn't have the blue thing. He has the yellow one, right?
Yes, and that eventually became the stone that was in Vision's head. Yeah,
it always messed me up because the staff has got that blue thing in there. So I always think it's the cube as well, but it's not. Those are two different things,
right?
But they're in the same time period because they were like. Again, I ain't seen this movie again. Keep track of all this stuff. Anyway, so they have to go back. They have to go back to the Avengers. They have to go back to the first Avengers movie, Thor: The Dark World, and the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Right.
That's it, right? No, then they have to. Oh wait, no. Then they also have to go to four places. The fourth one is where I was gonna say Skeletor, the Red Skull is.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Soul. Mm-hmm. So that's the four different places they have to go get the stones. Which here's the thing. Okay, so did they know when they were sending people to go to get the Hawkeye and Black Widow when they were going to get the Soul Stones that one of you's not coming back?
I don't think so. But
here's the thing. What was the plan then to get the Soul Stone?
They're just gonna go there and be like, "Hey, I don't know, give me the Soul Stone."
Here's the thing. Nebula was with them, and she knew this in Infinity War. She's like, Thanos and Nebula went to wherever.
Yeah.
To go get the Soul Stone. She didn't come back. That was the price he had to pay. She understood that was the price he had to pay to get that stone.
Wait, did she go with them? To get the Soul Stone?
No. She
no.
Together. Then they went to the Guardians of the Galaxy planet.
I see what you're saying. So she was around.
Right.
She was around. Okay. I understand what you're saying.
She was there at the at the very beginning of the movie. She's been with them this whole time.
Yeah.
So she piloted it's not the Milano anymore. It's the Benatar, I think, is the new name of the ship. She flew with Hawkeye, Black Widow, and Don Cheadle. War Machine, that's his name.
Yeah.
And they pretty much put the ship on autopilot and said, all right, this is going to take you to the Red Skull planet to go get the Soul Stone. Nebula had to know, like, one of you is not coming back.
Yeah.
P.S. By the way, before you go, one thing, just sent them off. And thank God they both actually cared about each other.
Yeah, right.
People who didn't care about each other, it's like, well, we're not getting the Soul Stone. I could throw my, my lucky coin, see if that,
Yeah. Yeah, and I thought they handled that whole scene pretty well. I think the Soul Stone, sacrificing someone you love for the Soul Stone bit is kind of stupid anyway, but like I think they did a good job with it.
I think in comic book logic it works.
In comic book logic, it just feels like, oh, that's the stone we haven't done a movie about yet, so we're just sticking on some planet and build something around it, and there you go, boom. You know what I mean? Like if they would have thought about it a little bit harder or whatever, they would find a way to work it into one of the films so it could have its moment. But it is what it is. Before we get further into like this, the traveling through the past movies, I was really excited about the possibility of it because of Back to the Future too. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That movie is so cool. Like the way they handled going back into the previous film, and you're seeing all your favorite scenes, but you're seeing it from like a different angle, like just off stage or whatever, and from hidden from behind a car, and you're rewatching like all these fantastic moments. I'm excited and waiting for that, and we really don't get any of that in these. We get a tiny bit, but not really. And there's a whole lot of films to choose from. And for them to jump into like, all right, the first Avengers movie, that makes sense, right? The Guardians movie, that was cool, but like we really don't see, I guess we do see Star-Lord kind of like doing his little dance at the beginning. Mm-hmm. But really that's it. And then Thor, The Dark World, which I've only seen twice, and I slept through the second time seeing it. So I don't remember anything from that, but it doesn't matter because they don't show any of the scenes from that movie. They just show like Natalie Portman, from a distance. Yeah. And that's basically it. And then Rocket's like, hey, I'm going to go get this thing. And he takes off, and we don't see what actually happens. Right. They don't bother to show that. And then he comes back. He's like, got it. So for me, it felt like a wasted opportunity for them to like really take us on a trip through these old films, Well,
I think, okay, here's the thing. If this had been like a 3-part movie, you could have made this whole time thing be like the second movie.
Well, and to be honest, I think this whole second act thing should have been the third act as well.
Really?
Well, because when we get to the third act, it just turns into like a big fight of like our army versus yours. And how many times have we seen that now in an MCU film? A lot.
See, but it's the first time that it's everybody versus everybody.
Well,
Last time we had,
and I do appreciate that.
From places.
Yeah, I just think the idea that they had come up with to jump back into all these old films was so good and just not fully realized. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I kind of wish we would have seen like all these great scenes. Like I wish there was some way where like they're like fighting Thanos and he's got the time stone and he's jumping through time and they're jumping in with him and they're kind of going like sort of in Thor 2 where he's like jumping through like all the portals and stuff and it's kind of they're having fun with it. I want it to be the Monsters Inc. of the MCU where they're going through the doors and it's a different thing. And they're like in a different scene from a different Marvel movie. And we're seeing the characters like, but now that they exist in these scenes, like it's different. So like, you know, I don't know.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like Whiplash is like breaking up cars on the you know, he's like smashing cars with his whips on the racetrack, and Hulk comes in and smashes him and takes the stone or whatever. I don't know, you know what I mean?
This movie already cost him like over $350 million,
and it made a 1.6 billion the first weekend. So I think they had a little leeway.
Also, P.S. Do you think Terrence Howard is like really mad that he didn't stay in the Iron Man movies?
If I was him, I'd be so pissed. What was it? It was money, right? He wanted more money. I
think he wanted more money, and they said no. And he's like, "Well, then you're not getting James Rhodes." And they're like, "Yes, we are. We're going to get someone who's actually more charismatic than you." But like, if he would have just kept his mouth shut and took his goddamn paycheck, I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends on if Terrence Howard is more interested in making films than movies, because Marvel makes movies. They don't make films. Yeah, movies. So I don't know how serious of an actor he is, but like, there's probably kind of wonder if he's like, you know, Terrence, you want to go? We're gonna go see Endgame. Do you want to see it? And I'm like, nah.
Yeah. I like Terrence Howard a lot, so I was kind of sad for him that he didn't get to be in the rest of these movies. But Don Cheadle does a good job. So
Iron Man several times. He's kind of a dead stick in that movie.
Really?
I don't think he is just not very interesting. And I don't know if it's a material thing, but like Don Cheadle does so much more just as an actor, just like he just does more.
Yeah.
I was thinking about, I was like, wow, it's amazing they got all these actors back to do this. Even got fucking Robert Redford.
Yeah.
Like, what would you say his screen time was? 30 seconds maybe of screen time? Put the suit on, be the bad guy again. That was a shock. I was like, wow, they actually got fucking Robert Redford to come back. And like my wife was like, when I came over the movie, was like, who's in the movie? I'm like, everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everybody except I think Willem Dafoe. I think he's the only one who wasn't in the movie.
Oh, yeah. Huh. So where are we at now? So they get the stones.
Wait, we skipped ahead to like Hawkeye and Black Widow. And let me ask you, did you know who was going to have to make the sacrifice?
I did not. I was hoping it was Hawkeye because I don't give a damn. Well, I kind of figured it would be Black Widow because Hawkeye had that whole scene at the beginning of the movie, which was, by the way, it's a fantastic scene with his family. And so I was like, well, you know, you don't set up the family just to like not pay that off. You know what I mean? So it pretty much had to be her.
Well, my feeling was like, well, Hawkeye didn't have a lick of screen time in the first one, the first Infinity War.
Yeah. We haven't seen him since Civil War, I think, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, because he's been in house arrest the same day. He was wearing the ankle brace at the beginning of the movie. So when the choice came down, I'm like, I know who's going over. It's got to be Black Widow. She had plenty of screen time in Infinity War. Hawkeye didn't get crap.
Yeah,
you can't bring Hawkeye into this one and then just kill him. It's like, it has to be Black Widow.
And it's good that it came down to those. Like, it was good to see those two characters together again.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're in the first Avengers film, and they were the two characters that were kind of like, what the hell are we doing here, kind of thing.
Yeah. And it was, I think it was kind of cute that whereas like Thanos had to force Gamora over the side, they were kind of fighting.
Yeah.
Who gets the sacrifice because neither one of them wanted to lose. Like, I don't know. I mean, again, people may call it hammy. I liked it. I thought it was cute.
Sure.
I thought it was sweet. Let's see. Anyway, that's all. That whole thing resolved itself. Guardians of the Galaxy Planet. Pretty cut and dry. They just knock out Star-Lord, get the stone, but then Nebula gets. You know what? It's funny when Nebula when they found the two Nebulas found each other.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that movie? It was called like Primer or Primer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anyone doesn't know about it? Go watch. I always call it Primer. Matt, I think, says Primer. Right. He's probably right, but I think Primer sounds better. Great time travel movie, very low budget. And one of the scenes, there's two people in the same timeline, and one of them gets a phone call, and he doesn't know, like, will both of these phones ring? If there's two identical phones with the exact same SIM card, would they both ring at the same time, or would one ring for the other one? And that's what I couldn't stop thinking about that with the two Gamoras getting their signals crossed.
Oh, that makes sense. See, you made that scene make sense to me now. Because before I was just like, oh, they just did it just so they,
Well, yeah,
they needed a conceit. But like, look, you just made that work for me. Thank you.
I couldn't stop thinking of Primer when I saw that. I was like, oh yeah, it's like the two phones.
That makes sense now. Wow.
That I have to admit, there's always I hate those moments where like the bad guy infiltrates the good guys, because now you're just look at your watch waiting for the betrayal.
Right, exactly.
Like Evil Gamora standing in the background, I'm like, oh, okay. It's one of those things where I'm a step ahead of the characters.
Yeah.
And it's not a good feeling to be in the audience and being a step ahead of the protagonist.
Right.
The shoe's going to drop. I mean, I guess it creates tension and everything, but man, that was the part. I understand why it has to happen story wise. I get it. Mm-hmm. It's also, it kind of gives us a great way to get Gamora back, which I didn't know they were going to do that.
Oh yeah. I was
thinking like, man, what's Guardians of the Galaxy 3 going to be like without Gamora? And it's going to be a sad Peter Quill. But now we know what it's going to be like. It's going to be like fucking Star Trek 3. The search for Gamora. That's what it's going to be. They were even looking for it at the very end of the movie. So anyway.
Yeah.
I'm getting ahead. So let's see. Well, I'm drawing a comic and I'm trying to make sure I'm on the right layer. So we Guardians of the Galaxy.
Multitask.
I know. This planet that's there. The big one was like the Avengers Tower, the big fight in 2012.
Right.
That was the best part of that, was we actually get to see what happens after they face down Loki, and he was like, I think I'll have that drink now. Mm-hmm, you see, like, oh, they bind up, they go to the elevator. Hulk can't take the elevator, and like you get to actually see, and like, oh wow, Robert Redford's character was there at the beginning. So what do you think? What do you think of them going back to the events of the first Avengers movie?
Well, and I think that's where they did this whole time travel thing the best, because it was, you were seeing it from a different angle. Mm-hmm. There was the scene in the elevator where he was doing the Hail Hydra thing. That was awesome.
I think that was one of the best goddamn scenes in the movie, because I feel like I'm sure you were with me too, and pretty much everybody was like, "Oh my god, we're gonna have a repeat."
Yeah.
Of the Winter Soldier fight in the elevator.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for him to, like, before we begin, does anyone want to get off? I was like, oh, here he comes. And then he figures, like, that was so much better than any action scene.
Right.
A character be clever like that,
And it shows kind of the growth in that character. Now he doesn't have to just use his fists. He can use his brain a little bit now too, which I think is cool. I love the fight between Captain America and Captain America, and it led to like probably the greatest like one-liner in all the MCU. That really is America's ass. Like the way it was delivered was perfect too. I was laughing so hard at that scene. It was so good.
Chris Evans must know that he's going to hear that for the rest of his life.
You know what? He made a lot of money on these movies. I think it's fine.
Can we spend the rest of my life walking away from people, hearing people say that as they watch me walk away? There goes America's ass.
So that whole part of the time travel thing was great. Mm-hmm. I that's where they really pulled it off, and I was like, yes, this is something kind of new that I hadn't seen since Back to the Future 2, honestly. Mm-hmm. And your review, for the fans and all that stuff, like that's perfect. And I loved it. I loved all that. I'm surprised that Loki wasn't a bigger part of this movie, just because he's a fan favorite. And people love him.
Although I heard that he's supposed to be getting his own series now.
Oh, really? On the Disney?
So I kind of feel like him jumping ship with the whichever stone that was. You leaving with that little box.
It was a Tesseract, right?
The cosmic cube.
Yeah.
Him bailing would be the setup for the Loki.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Yeah. I thought that was great.
I do like that they still figured out a way to get Loki back. Because I really did feel in Infinity War like, oh, he's dead. Even Thanos says like, no coming back from that or whatever, no resurrections. It's like, wow, that's such a popular character, and they actually killed him. So I kind of like that they found a way of keeping him dead, but still bringing him back in a way.
Yeah.
So I feel like the other shoe is about to drop. Where did they lose you?
No, I think that I just think just in general it was I think the Thor 2 scene was a little like, why that movie for one.
I almost feel like just because it's Thor, it's the movie that everyone was like, nah, you don't need to see Thor. Dark World. It's like, we're going to make you want to see that movie.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that like a lot of the action takes place off screen with Rocket, like he goes and somehow gets the juice.
And I love the fact that like I kept watching, like I've only seen Dark World like once. I don't remember the scenes very well. It was like,
you reused unused footage from the original film, so they didn't have to bring her back at all.
Oh, so I just assumed like, oh, this must be scenes from Dark World. I just don't remember them.
Yeah, no, apparently that's how they did it. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, they get all the stones and they bring them back, and then we're good from there. Movie over, right?
Well, let's see what they have to go. Okay, wait. Loki leaves with the cosmic cube, and like, well, shit, that screws up our whole plan. And then Tony and God, which one was it? Was it Tony? Was it Tony or was it Cap that came with the idea? Like, I know a place where we can get that cube, and we can get more Pym particles. So we're not limited to just the.
Oh yeah, sure.
Round trip jumps that they're limited to.
I forgot about that scene.
So they go back to the 70s and have to go back to the old army base. And it was cute that like Tony had a moment with his dad, and they've always been this little strained relationship that's been kind of under the surface. It's very C plot, D plot kind of thing, not a big deal. Right. You just know Tony didn't have a great relationship with his dad, right? And it was kind of cute to see them both get to talk to each other and both pretty much be around. I think in the movie logic, probably supposed to be assumed that they're same age or so. Tony's been a dad for 5 years, so he actually kind of understands what his dad's going through. Very sweet, goofy as all hell. I mean, it's one of those things like this movie is like it is like a house of cards. You could just, and the whole plot will fall apart if you start really, Right. But I loved every little beat that it was like. That's perfect that Tony gets to see his dad, and it's perfect that Steve Rogers gets to see Peggy.
Yeah.
Which sets up a little something for the very end of the movie, keeps that thread going.
Right.
Which that sort of thing makes you wonder how much of this stuff they had planned, because there have been multiple movies where Steve has opened up his little, it's like a compass or whatever.
Yeah.
Sees Peggy's picture in there. There have been multiple times where he's just sitting there looking at it.
Well, I mean, I think some of the stuff they've certainly figured out, like how I'm sure they had. Well, I don't know if they would have had Steve's ending. I mean,
just the fact that he kept it going, that he still feels bad, for that date, for not having that dance, with her. That he's never really moved on from that moment of that great moment at the very end of the first. Yeah, I think it was the very first Captain America movie. Where, help me out, because it was like it was the end credit scene. He busts out of a shield infirmary or whatever, runs to Times Square. He's like, holy shit, I'm in the future. Nick Fury's there, and he's like, are you okay? And then Captain America says, yeah, it's just that, I'm what's the line? He says like, I had a date.
Yeah, I haven't. I've only seen that movie once, so I don't remember. But
I remember thinking like that was one of my. It was the very last scene in the movie. It was one of my favorite scenes where he just kind of looks and he's like, "Yeah, I'm okay. I had a date."
Yeah,
and like, kind of summed up his character as that the remorse, And I feel like that plays so beautifully to how Endgame ends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know what I mean. Anyway, getting ahead of myself. All right, so we go back to the 70s. We get the stones. Everyone comes back to Avengers headquarters. Everyone's like bummed out, but we don't have time to be too sad.
Right.
For Black Widow, so everyone's like, "Oh, that sucks." Anyway, let's get going. And this is something that what were you gonna say?
Well, no, I was gonna go ahead.
Okay, here's the thing that I've seen other people be annoyed about this, and I'm not sure where you come down on it, but they made such a big deal that they had to go get this big giant Peter Dinklage to make the Infinity Gauntlet, but it turns out Tony Stark can just make one too.
Right.
Even though he had to make it with the forge of a dying star, Tony can make one in a shop. Lickety split too.
Well, he's got nanoparticles.
I know, and it's Tony Stark. He's a genius.
And by the way, can I say, like, there's nothing I like less than a nano suit Iron Man. It is the biggest bullshit in the Iron Man is bolts and wires and metal clinking against metal. It's not like this stupid nano suit goo.
I 100% with you. I was watching some of the old Iron Man scenes and seeing him like suit up where he has to put his arms in things and clink clink clink. Yeah,
like even the things I mean, they played with it. They had fun. They had the suitcase that became the suit. That was cool.
Here's the thing. I was an Iron Man kid growing up. Back in like 85 or 87 or so, I got into Iron Man right during the Armor Wars. And that was my character. That was my favorite comic book character was Iron Man. And I always loved that he carried this little attaché suitcase. And he was like, "Oh, hold on. We put my big Iron Man suit on." And when they busted out the suitcase in Iron Man 2, people bag on Iron Man 2. I think they're nuts. I love Iron Man 2. And I love
it's great. Yeah.
And I love that they actually made the suitcase kind of work. The whole concept of keeping his suitcase, because the idea of like opening it up and like, "Oh, here's my helmet, foomp, put that on, here my gloves, foomp, foomp," like that seemed a little goofy. It's fine for a comic book in the 60s, but I was like, that's gonna be weird how they're doing in the fact that the suitcase. Okay, this is becoming a review of Iron Man 2. Anyway, where were we? I'll start talking about Iron Man 2 all day.
So they build a glove.
They build the glove that can actually hold the Infinity Stones. And harness the power, which, yeah, that's a real. I'm willing to just. There's a lot. Here's the thing. I can't really be unbiased with this movie. There's a lot of stuff I'm going to hand wave and go fine. That I'd probably upset at other movies like, "Well, that doesn't make sense." And it is a little like jarring that like, "Oh, really? Tony can just make one of those?" But fine, whatever, fine. We could spend another hour of a movie going back to Peter Dinklage like, "Hey, can you fire up that star again one more time? We're going to need to make this thing." Yeah. So fine, you got around it.
Nanoparticles.
What?
Nanoparticles. They can do anything.
Nanoparticles. They can do anything. So did you know who was going to have to snap their fingers? Who was going to actually be the one to do it?
No, I didn't put any thought into it when Hulk said it has to be me because I'm the only one that can survive. That made sense to me. He's the only one that has like regenerative powers and he, if it was going to do some major damage, you definitely want somebody like Hulk in there to like, take care of it. And it did a lot of damage to his body. He snaps his fingers and like his arm basically like just shrunk down to nothing.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Which to me, that feels like that's a little setup for Hulk in the future. I feel like Hulk's going to try and fix that, and then we're going to get some weird version. Like maybe he'll turn into Gray Hulk, Mr. Fisk.
Oh, I don't know. So
snaps his fingers.
He snaps his fingers. I mean, the whole time we got this whole thing with Nebula and Thanos going on, where Thanos is coming back to Earth, right? She gets his spaceship to kind of come through the the portal or whatever, the time hole.
Oh, worse, like sci-fi original movie. Time.
And she uses the Pym particles, I guess, to make it small, and it gets through the time hole and then gets big again.
Is that what she was holding on to?
I guess it happened really quick. I missed it.
No. Wait, no. She had the Benatar. Didn't she have the Benatar shrunk up and then went?
No,
yeah, no.
Was his.
No, she did. She had the Benatar because they couldn't take the ship back in time, so they shrunk the Benatar so she could hold on to it in her hand. Right. Then they went back in time, and then she enlarged it, and then they got in it, and then they flew to the Guardians of the Galaxy planet.
Oh yeah.
So I don't think she shrunk Thanos' ship.
I believe it was shrunk.
That's too silly.
Well, how else does this gigantic city of a ship get through this tiny little portal thing?
Doesn't she like let them through and it just destroys the whole building as it blows out of it? She doesn't put a little tiny Thanos ship, does she?
I feel like it got shrunk down. I have to watch it again, but
we're gonna have to watch this movie. Thank you, folks. Second review pending.
All right, so we're an hour and 10 minutes, so we're gonna have to.
We're gonna wrap this up. Okay, anyway, snaps his fingers. Scott hears a bird singing, which at first you're like, who gives a shit? But then you hear the phone ring. It's Hawkeye's wife saying, hey, how do you want those hot dogs? Do you want the mayo on the hot dogs or whatever? And then everyone's like, it worked. And Thanos blows up the whole place. I kept thinking, like, you see Ant-Man, like, everyone's like trapped into there. I was like, Ant-Man's just going to get huge and just open up the whole thing. Yeah. I don't think he does. I think maybe he does later. Anyway.
He does later.
Thanos shows up. He just sits. He's like, all right, I know what's going to happen. Which kind of felt like just Josh Brolin just on set. Like, just tell them to come here and I'll start punching them, you know.
And I do like that he sort of has that moment where he kind of realizes like, this destroying half the world didn't do it because nobody could appreciate what I did for him. So I'll just reset everything from scratch.
And I do appreciate because then it kind of ups the stakes. Like, well, if we don't win, he's just gonna get rid of everything. Yeah. We don't get the half that we normally had, you know? So I like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, we have our three, it's just three of them, right? It's just Tony, Steve, and Thor. It's just three fighting for right at first. Yeah. Is there anybody else? Nah, I think that was it. They're fighting, fight. Down goes Thor. Down goes Tony. Cap is all by himself. And then that's when we hear the on your left.
Right.
And that's the moment I was waiting for. It's like, there's got to be a moment in this movie where they just line everybody up. Every single person that's been in these damn movies, just line them all up like one of those big splash pages or big Marvel posters, you know?
Yeah.
And that was one of those things. I think I heard someone say like, like a spoiler free review. And it's like, there's going to be a moment in this scene in this movie.
So, I mean, the fight was good. It was, everyone comes through the portals and we have everyone back together again. And then Captain America says, Avengers Assemble.
Yes.
Right. Which was great because he actually said it. Like part of me was like, they're going to cut. And they did credits. It was like, no, but no, he says it and then they do the fight. It was great. It was great to see all the characters kind of have their moment and everyone had a great moment. I mean, one of the greatest moments was Captain America grabbing that hammer, and the whole audience just exploded, which is really interesting because I don't know how well that plays. Everyone in there obviously understood what that moment meant, but do normal human beings sit around talking about I wonder who could wield Thor's hammer? I don't think so. But everyone understood at that moment when Captain America was holding the hammer. And Thor goes, I knew it.
Yes. That's the thing I like about this movie the most is the fact that it was full of scenes that I did not see coming.
Yeah.
You know? And
Yeah.
it's a comic book movie. We all know this, that Thanos is going to lose. We know they're going to fix everything. They're not going to leave things as they are. You'd think I would just be sitting there wait for them to go through the paces, but they keep surprising you with scenes of things you didn't know you were going to see,
Right.
And I never would have pictured oh, by the way, at some point Captain America's going to pick up Mjolnir, and I actually know how to wield it. It does the whole spin,
Yeah,
and everything.
Yeah.
Oh,
I got a little emotional in that point. I got to say, there's something really fantastic about that.
you know what? I know I've heard a lot of people talk about when did you cry? I never cried, but I will say there was a moment when all the heroes are coming through the Doctor Strange portals.
Mm-hmm.
Alan Silvestri, he's the one who did the score for the movie. I'm a big movie score guy, and there's one little part of that music that's just really, I don't know how to put it, romantically heroic.
Yeah.
Not just the big trumpets, but there's almost, I don't know, there's just something almost sad little melody that just, it's a melody designed to pull your heartstrings. It's the kind of music you hear when in this very sad movie, it's there's this moment where I think it's right where Peter Parker comes through.
Mm-hmm.
I was the music's just swelling and all I could think is yes. And that's the one moment where I felt I didn't feel crying, but I felt if there was a moment, if I maybe was just unstable enough, maybe I had a few drinks in me, or I was really tired and sleepy, I might get choked up at this moment,
Well, that music in general, I mean, I don't think there's been a movie for a while now where the music itself is so you hear it and you're yes, this is, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's been it's the Star Wars, it's the Indiana Jones, of the Avengers is up there as one of the great movie scores. I think even Pirates of the Caribbean is up there as well as one of the great movie scores. But a song that you hear and you're I can instantly recall and hum that tune. And there's been very few superhero movies or action movies for that matter that have this big sweeping score that that I can remember in that way.
Mm-hmm.
There's just something about it. It's so epic and grand and can be played so many different ways as well, like you're saying, and it works really well. So, I mean, when they're coming through the portals and you get everyone together again, that's a great scene.
Mm-hmm.
The hammer is a great scene. I even loved all the Marvel women lined up in that one shot where they're kind of they're going to distract them.
Boy, I felt that was a little on the nose.
Really? I didn't think so because they didn't really I don't know. They didn't set it. To me, it felt just right. It felt just enough. I know somebody who was very angry at that and lost sleep over it and thought that destroyed the movie and that Hollywood has a feminist problem and that person's got some problems of his own, to be honest. You're losing sleep over that. Come on. But I remember Marvel had a problem of not enough superhero women, right? There was basically Black Widow and that was it. Mm-hmm. And to see at the end of this giant 22 movie arc that there are a ton of really fantastic female heroes and Pepper Potts. I don't know.
I love that phrasing. A lot of fantastic female heroes. And also Pepper Potts is there.
Somehow she's an Iron Woman now. That happened apparently.
Character. I've heard people say this, that her Iron Man suit, she's called Rescue, and it's a lot. It's not a lot about dealing damage. It's more about rescuing people.
Is she from the comics then? Did she do? I mean, I assume everyone probably wore the suit at one point in the comics, right? I mean, God, but. But it was cool seeing at that point I was all right, fine, Pepper, she's doing it too. That's cool.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, she learned some stuff in Iron Man 3, so she's just taking her skills and just applying it to the this new situation.
Does she still have the Mandarin powers?
Does she? Maybe. I don't know. I don't remember. I maybe they got rid of him. I can't remember.
I remember watching that movie, Iron Man 3. I was wow, she just always has these powers now. I don't remember.
She did. They just they never brought him up again or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the fight was good. It was.
Well, here let's do this.
Yeah.
Favorite. Let's just break it down to this. Let's break it down to two things for each of us. Mm-hmm. Favorite scene in the fight. Least favorite scene in the fight. because I know we could just talk about this fight all day because there's a million different great scenes and where everyone who's listening to this will all agree. So let's just break it down to best and not even worst, just least favorite.
I mean, I think for me I think the fight in general was.
Long people.
I've seen enough like my army against your army kind of fights in Marvel universes now that I just a little. I wish it was more Back to the Future 2 and less of that, you know. So, I mean, my favorite I think was probably the Captain America and the Hammer.
Yeah.
My least favorite, I don't know that there's a least favorite. I've never been a fan of the Iron Spider suit.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of wish it was more just regular Peter. I don't know that I have a least favorite. I'm sure whatever yours is going to be mine.
Well, I would say well, for me, the least favorite was the all women. I do not feel like it ruined the movie. It didn't even really bother me that much. It was
but the guys had an all guy scene there too, where all the Marvel guys were like doing a whole thing as well.
I guess I didn't notice that.
Yeah, well, that's because you're a sexist.
I'm a sexist. I'm a pig, essentially. I guess to me, like it was that one moment that really, even those movies full of moments that should technically take you out of the movie because they're winking at the camera almost, you know?
Yeah.
That really took me out of the moment of like, oh, of course. Okay, now we're having all the women, so all the women could go, hey.
Yeah. And I've heard women that liked it and women that hated it as well. So I think it's just kind of what your mood was at the time, you know?
It is definitely not a thing that ruins the movie or anything.
No, like you're not losing sleep over like this guy.
God,
give me a break.
Fine, go do what you got to do, ladies.
I understand that it can be a little cheesy for some people. For me, I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so.
But I would say, and here's the thing, I don't hear a lot of people talk about this scene. I think one of my favorite scenes from that whole fight was Scarlet Witch showing up.
Oh, okay.
Because she shows up, and I remember thinking, like, I better see a scene where there's gonna be a scene where she faced off with Thanos, and I was worried that they'd forget about it. Like, we got too many people in this movie already. Let's just, like, you know, have her do something else, you know?
Right.
And she shows up, and she's like, "You took everything from me," and he's like, "I don't even know you," and I love it. She's just like, "You will," and just starts wrecking shop, and starts throwing stuff, and I'm at this point, I'm like, okay. She's fighting him. At some point, some of the big lizard men are going to come grab her arms and just run away with her or something. Right. You know, she's going to be politely okay, there's your moment. You're going to be politely escorted off the scene. So Downey Jr. can do cool stuff. She actually like there's a moment where Thanos comes down with this double-bladed thing and hits her, and she's pushing back, and then she smiles and pushes him back and then starts lifting him up, and she's ripping his armor off. And you could see she's winning this fight. This one person, this low sea-level character, is winning the fight against Thanos. And he has to. What does he say? He says like, fire something. What was it? Firestorm or something? It basically he's calling down for like a huge missile strike on the whole surface. And one of his.
Yeah.
Oh, but Thanos, you're soldiers. He's like, do it. You know. Like, oh my God, she almost did it single-handedly. That I loved. That's one of my favorite scenes because I feel like so many times you have all these people running around, like even especially Infinity War, you have all these people running around throwing explosions and blasting Thanos with this and that, you know, and he's just shrugging everything off. Right. Or it's not really affecting him that much. She actually could, like, if all things being equal, she could have just wrecked him, you know. She could have destroyed that guy had he not, you know, cheated essentially and called in an airstrike on her, you know. Yeah. That I absolutely love. I love that. That's another thing. You know, I mean, okay, I'm just saying we have to set our favorite and least favorite. But I do like that there's a lot of moments, and I would need to actually sit down and write them down, where people were working together. There's a moment where like Mjolnir's flying through the air and Spider-Man throws his web, catches it, and uses it to pull him out of a bad situation, you know? Right. So many scenes that like, wow, this feels, and you hear this a lot in comic book movies, but this really felt like a comic book. Like see in a comic book, Spider-Man whipping Mjolnir and flying away, you know, it's like, oh my God, they're just, they're pulling out all the stops in this fight. And I mean, I know some people have said the fight went on a little long and it's kind of boring, but it's like, to me, it like, I feel like it hit all the right beats. It never got bogged down to just a big slugfest or something. There was always something interesting happening.
Right. I mean, you compare this to the giant, army fight in Infinity War. Like that was really generic. It was some generic enemy and some generic, warriors facing off. And it's just, meh. There's nothing really interesting in that fight. Like this was a fight that felt like it had stakes. You got to see a lot of like the bad guys throughout the previous Marvel films as well. I mean, it was an army full of a lot of that kind of stuff, and all the things the superheroes were doing were all interesting. They all work, like you said, they're all working together. They're using their powers together to do interesting things, and they kept it going. So I thought it was a very good fight. I personally just was a little let down that the Back to the Future part wasn't better, but that it's not bad. I mean, it was a great fight. It was definitely a great way to end the whole series of Avenger films with a fight this big, with stakes this high.
God, I feel so off my game. I feel like if I was talking to you more often, I would have predicted like, oh, Matt's gonna like the Back to the Future stuff.
It was just so clever. It was such a clever of an idea, it was just such a good idea to do it that way.
I know.
So they beat him. He's dead.
Tony Stark he does a great line, which, I mean, it's funny when he's like saying and I'm like, oh, I know how I was going to say it. And he was going to say, what a great way to go out. And I remember thinking like, well, this is it.
Yeah.
He's not coming back from this. Says, I am Iron Man, snaps his fingers, kaboom. And there was a moment, I love that they actually kind of held on to Thanos for a while. Let everything else turn to ash and make you wonder, like, did he snap Thanos out of existence? And then finally Thanos just goes away. And he just sits there.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a monologue, doesn't say anything. He just accepts defeat, just looks down, just fades away. I was like, oh, beautiful.
Yeah. And everyone's saying their last goodbyes to Tony. It's very sad. Robert Downey Jr. does a really good job in that moment as well. He doesn't overplay the death scene. You know what I mean? He knows he's going to die. He's trying to hold it together as long as possible, but you can tell he's really hurting. Like he's really messed up. Like this really fucked him up, and what does Pepper say to him? You can go now or something, or you're done.
You can rest now.
You can rest now, yeah.
The movie when he was like, I figured out time travel, but I don't know if I should do this. She's like, you have to do this. You'll never rest. So it's kind of almost a callback to that. Like, okay, now you can rest. Now your job is the whole idea of like you wanting to put how do you phrase it? Like a suit of armor around the world.
Yeah.
To protect it. It's like, well, you didn't do that, but you did the next best thing, Yeah. And I saw a video essay that points something out about the very first Avengers where Captain America is dressing down Tony Stark and he says like, you don't care about anyone but yourself, and you would never like sacrifice yourself or something. He basically, in a weird way, it was kind of like a great little foreshadowing that one day Tony Stark would be the one to just sacrifice himself.
Yeah,
for to save the day. I don't know. What do you think? Were you happy with Tony Stark's death?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think
I should say, are you happy? Are you comfortable with this is his? Yes. This character's exit from this universe.
Yeah, I did want him to die. It just felt like him sacrificing himself for somebody else, in this case, the entire world, was the proper sort of conclusion for this character, right? We go from a character who's very self-centered, and that's why we love him, because it was the character he was, but like he did everything for himself to becoming this character who is willing to give up everything, his life, his future with his family. As a dad, that's something I think about. It's like, could I sacrifice myself for somebody else? I mean, I've got these kids that I love that need me to be there for them. I won't ever know until I'm in the moment whether or not I can do something like that. But It felt really good. It felt like the proper way to conclude Robert Downey Jr.'s adventure with the Avengers, I guess.
Yeah.
What about you?
I will say, becoming a dad, I felt. You say you're not sure. That's one thing that's one thing I know I feel sure about. It's like something's going to happen where it's my daughter or me. I know I'll just sacrifice myself.
Oh, sure. If it's my daughter or me, for sure. But if it's like some stranger or me, I don't know.
But that's the thing is, I'm really annoyed by that. I was like, well, it used to be, a selfish person.
Yeah.
And now if like I'm out in the woods and there's like a cougar, I can't just run away. I want to. But now I can't. Now I have to stay and fight the damn cougar while she.
All right, damn it! Look what you're gonna make Daddy do.
Yeah, and the thing is, she probably won't run away. She'll just kind of like walk around, like, "No, sweetie, run!" And she won't listen to me. Like
rolling up your sleeves and just like, God, ugh.
Fine. We'll both die from the cougar. Great.
This is what my life's come to.
I think it was still kind of sad to see Tony go.
Sure.
But it almost felt like you as I don't know, for me, I felt like as an audience member, like, it's okay, RDJ. You can you've done your work. I won't ask any more of you. You've done way more than you've had to do.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, the one that I didn't see coming, again, this goes back to what I'm saying about like this movie kept surprising me. I did not see how Steve Rogers was gonna bail.
Oh, sure.
I didn't see that at all.
The whole like you got to put all the stones back. He's like, I'll just go back in time and do it real quick. Like to me, that was a real cop out. It's like, all right, we got to do some of these stones. We got to get rid of them. He just does it off screen.
Well, the thing is, like, the thing when they gave him, because he has like a suitcase of the stones. He's got Mjolnir. He's got everything he's got to put back. Mm-hmm. And like, okay, you're gonna be gone for, it's gonna take you as long as it's gonna take you, but it's only gonna be 5 seconds on our side. I'm like, right there, I know something's gonna happen.
Yeah, right.
I don't know what it is, but I know something's gonna happen.
I've kind of figured he was setting up the next film. You know what I mean? Like he was gonna come back and it was gonna be like the next crazy villain was gonna come back with him. He pulled him back to the time portal or whatever.
Ooh, I think I've heard other people say that.
Oh, really?
They thought that was gonna be a cliffhanger ending, that he was gonna leave and like and then but he wouldn't come back, and they'd say, Bruce, what's wrong? And then they'd cut to black, and then that's it.
Yeah, sure.
Which would be so unsatisfying.
Definitely.
God, that would have been horrible.
So he has that last moment with Winter Soldier,
which is funny because Bucky knew that was gonna happen.
Yeah. There was the way when Bucky was talking to him, I was like, oh, I don't know if he's going to come back, and he didn't. He stayed, and he had a wonderful life.
Did you think the way what I thought at first when you saw the back of Steve Rogers? Like, did he go back to before he took the serum? He looked small. His clothes looked baggy. He looked small. I was like, oh, is that Steve Rogers before the serum? How did that work?
I didn't think that.
I thought that for a second, but when they turned around and saw him as old, I was like, oh, I remember thinking like, fucking perfect.
Yeah, and that had to have been CGI, right?
You don't think that was like? Wait, that had to have been a combination of makeup and CGI, right?
It had to be both. It would, if it was CGI, it was the best CGI fake person I've ever seen in my life.
Well, wait a minute, it must no. It was just Benjamin Button stuff, right?
Well,
where you take Brad Pitt and you make him all shrinky and everything.
But whenever they do old man makeup, you have to apply it over top of your regular face, right? So they end up looking puffy and big, and they don't really look old.
Yeah,
this looked like an old dude. Basically, it looked like an old dude with Chris Evans' eyes in his nose and his mouth, like basically him.
You don't. I mean, I guess you're right. Well, don't you think they could put the makeup on him, but then use special effects because they can de-age people? Don't you think they could, like?
Well, but the de-aging thing is like, it's a digital effect. Yeah, I guess it was definitely like some of the best effects I've seen because I couldn't tell whether or not it was CG or makeup or both. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It certainly didn't look like makeup, and it certainly didn't look like CG, which is great.
Yeah.
It was probably a little bit of both. You're probably right. They probably put the makeup on and then just use like the Photoshop pinch tool.
Yeah.
just to pinch in the cheeks a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah. Because you're right. Like, especially in the 80s when like you watch like, you want to talk about Back to the Future, when they have Back to the Future Part 2 and you see old Lorraine and everyone's old and it's like everyone's got huge faces. Because right, they have to put the makeup on over someone's face so they just look huge.
Yeah.
Right. It did look perfect where it didn't look like makeup on him. It just looked like a more gaunt Steve Rogers.
Yeah. But and the wrinkles were correct and everything. It was really good. That whatever they did there looked great.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So then we get the final shot with him and his wife dancing, right?
And let me ask you, I feel like when they were making Winter Soldier, the second Captain America movie, I feel like they were thinking that maybe Bucky will be the next Captain America.
Oh yeah, I was thinking that too. Like it made sense. Like it was either going to be him or it was going to be Falcon, and I wanted Falcon just because I think it would have been cooler to have like a black Captain America. I think that's the way to go. Just piss off some Nazis.
Yeah, but I really think that I think their original plan was, I don't know, maybe they're kind of thinking like, oh, we'll have these two Betty or Veronica kind of moment where it could go either way. Especially that moment in the trailer where Winter Soldier Captain America throws a shield at him and Winter Soldier catches it, and the fact that he's wielded the shield more than any, he's only second to Captain America for wielding that shield. In Civil War, he's grabbing it and using it, throwing it back to Captain America. It really felt like, I remember thinking like, boy, I have no idea who's going to get this shield. One of those two guys is going to get it. And I know in comics, I'm pretty sure in the comics, Falcon gets the shield. So I'm like,
and Bucky does as well.
Bucky does, but I think in the newer stuff, the Falcon gets it.
Does he? Okay.
Well, but that was before. It's newer, but still, it's before all the Marvel movies came out, I think. Anyway.
Okay.
But I gotta admit, makes me excited to see next Captain America movie.
Sure.
Well, just to see this character, he's got this whole thing to live up to, and
what's this going to be like?
It's interesting to see. It's funny. I remember thinking, well, this is it. Like, who wants to see Marvel movies after this?
Yeah.
But at the same time, there is part of me. It's like, I'm kind of interested to see where they go, where they pick up from here. Like,
and I'm one of those people that go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, I want to see the Asgardians of the Galaxy. And
yes.
Please, love of God, please call it that. Please, Asgardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. That would be great. Hulk, and you, I think you know this too. Like Hulk, they can't really make a solo Hulk movie without sharing the profits with who is it? There's some other studio out there that has the rights to solo Hulk movies. Where I think Marvel could make a solo Hulk movie, but they'd have to share a big chunk of the profits with Columbia or somebody.
Oh, okay.
That's why they made Thor Ragnarok with Hulk. It's well, we have this contract where we can't make solo ones, but nothing says we can't make them with another one, another buddy or something. So it's we could always, the Hulk could still be in play. Mm-hmm. Thor's definitely going to be in play. He's definitely going to be in the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Who knows if he's going to be there the whole time?
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. He is very interesting. Thor started out as my least favorite character, the one I was most I don't know if they can pull this off. I mean, he's a god. He's it's like a Rainbow Bridge, and he's turned into my favorite of all the characters. Oh. It's such an interesting sort of 180 I've had on this guy. And going into this movie, I was like, I'm done with Marvel movies after this. I'll be fine if I never see another one. And then they put Thor in the ship with the Guardians crew, and you're like, shit. Well, okay.
I know, right?
I guess I'm in for this one.
But plus the fact that that Disney now owns all these Fox properties, which means they can do whatever they want with the X-Men franchise.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I thought it'd be and it does feel like this air of finality, but there's also this kind of now we have this new beginning, this completely brand new Marvel universe that's kind of gotten rid of, we've said goodbye. We've had enough of Robert Downey Jr. Like another Iron Man movie would just be another Iron Man movie. In fact, I kind of hope they don't do, at least for a while. Like,
I think so.
I don't want anyone to put on the suit of armor. I think in the comics there's like a girl that becomes the next Iron Man. That's fine, but don't do it right away. Give us some breathing space. I'd be fine with another Captain America movie, ASAP.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I thought I'd be less interested, and now I'm kind of more interested in seeing what Marvel does now.
I'm interested just because I think that they kind of are. I don't know that they can do this again. I think that anything they come out with, it might be good, but I don't know that it's ever going to be like this again. So what the next Captain America movie? I'm sure it'll be good, but will it be as good as Winter Soldier, or just? Will it be the same because it's a different Captain America? I don't know.
I know it seems. I kind of feel like. I feel like we're at a good point to do a complete reboot.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that you need a reboot with these characters. I think you can go on with new characters and new people start taking over the mantles and stuff. Because they rebooted X-Men and they did it in a very good way. They were kind of really brilliant about it. I don't know that. I don't know that I need to see like another Iron Man origin story. I'd rather just see new stuff. I
want to see a Marvel universe that starts in the 50s.
Sure.
I almost feel like we could just go and say, screw it. We're going to wipe the slate clean. We're going to start with Fantastic Four. We're going to do it right. For once. And then start building the universe from there. And just do a whole new phase one.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm probably alone on that one, but.
Probably. All right. So let's do this. Right. Let's rate this film 1 through 10, what you thought of it. And then I would be really interested to hear, we can't go through all 22 movies, but like your top 3 and your bottom 3 Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. So first, rate this film 1 through 10. Adam, what would you give it?
I would give it a 10 just because I feel like to do this, to have so many things in a single movie.
Yeah.
In a 3-hour movie and make me love it and feel like it all works together.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I agree. I can't think of a better way they could have done all this with spinning all these plates, getting all these characters, having all these moments, still being funny, still being a plot you could follow.
Yeah.
And still being like very fan servicey.
Yeah.
I don't feel like you could do a better job of it. So I would say 10. What would you say?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think it's I think for me it's a 9, only because I felt like the Back to the Future thing was a little bit of a letdown. It wasn't. It was just. It could have been more.
Yeah.
But I agree. The fact that this movie exists, and as crazy as it is, if you just kind of look at the film objectively. Like you really needed these 22 films for this thing to even make sense, Yes. You had to build up to it. You couldn't have just started with a Marvel Cinematic Universe film like this, even if it was its own self-contained story that you could walk into having known nothing about these characters. Like we had to start with Iron Man, this sort of like realistic, simple story about this one guy, who's not like super powered. He's just a smart guy with tools, and then work our way slowly into this crazy universe. What do you call it? It expands. It takes place across the entire universe through time, and just it's just. I'm very, very happy with this film.
Yeah.
I can't imagine a better ending for any of the characters, So
no, I'm like I said, when I saw what happened to Steve Rogers, I was like, perfect, perfect. And I didn't see. I was like, oh, he's gonna die. or I didn't. I was not imagined enough to think of that ending for him. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that people are gonna. I feel like people are gonna analyze these movies for a long time. Start with Iron Man to Endgame. You know that they actually did one big huge saga.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
so bottom three to top three.
Which is easier to do?
I'll do mine while you're thinking about it.
Okay, yours. So
my bottom three. I haven't seen Captain Marvel, so I don't know. I hear people weren't super thrilled with that one.
Yeah,
I don't know where that would end up on mine. I think my very bottom of the barrel is Thor 2, Thor: The Dark World.
Mm-hmm.
It was just very forgettable. I mean, the villain was very, very forgettable. It had a really kind of cool fight scene, where they're going through the portals and stuff. Right. That was kind of fun. That saved the movie for me. But for the rest of it was just not. I didn't think, Thor wasn't very charismatic at that time. He was very pretty, but and Natalie Portman, not the greatest. Anyways, number 2. Probably Guardians 2, honestly. That for me, that film just was like it felt like I think I said it in the original review. Maybe it was like the dumb and it was the Ace Ventura 2 of the Guardians. They took like all the jokes and all the stuff that was fun about the first film, and they tried to like turn it up a notch. And instead, they just kind of made it a little more lame. Number 3. Maybe Captain America, the first one. Yeah. We saw that one once, and I was not really thrilled with it. So, yeah, probably that one. Captain America was another one of those characters that, like, I was like, he's just kind of a sappy character. He's not really, his superpowers aren't that good. Like, And, they did a great job of evolving that character into something fantastic, through the films, too. That first movie was not, in my opinion, the greatest. What about you? Your bottom 3? You got those?
I'm looking at them. Okay, I got one that you didn't think about.
Okay.
The Incredible Hulk. That's technically.
Oh yeah. I don't know if that would have made my bottom 3. I'm such a huge Hulk fan though, so
that's still
maybe the one guy to ask about something like that.
That I still feel like that one. I was like, I could be fine never watch that one again. Honestly, and I know I feel like this might be a little sacrilegious. I feel like Iron Man 3 was a little bit of a letdown for me.
See, I like that one a lot.
Yeah, it was okay. But
I got it recently. I mean, recently I got it like a year ago on Blu-ray, and the only part about that I didn't like was the whole sort of middle bit with the kid. The movie really slowed down at that point.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a lot of there's just a lot of stuff that there's a lot of nice scenes, but for the most part, I don't know. When a movie ends, it's like Pepper Potts, like she does this thing where she like does this spinning Haikiba kick of a piece of metal, and it goes into the guy's chest, and it's like, really?
Yeah,
it was just kind of dumb.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I think I'd have to say, God, here's the thing. I don't know that I dislike Thor: The Dark World that much. I think I dislike Thor: The Dark World because there are good elements in Dark World. There are great scenes. There's a great scene of the attack on Asgard. There's a great scene where Loki is told that his mother's dead.
Oh yeah, sure.
He turns his back and does that little thing with his hands and blows away all of his furniture. I feel like Dark World gets a bad rap.
Right.
I would say Hulk, Iron Man 3, and the first Thor would be my bottom 3.
Okay.
Top ones, that's rough. That is rough.
Well, so I can probably I certainly know my top 2.
What are they?
Well, so my number 1 is Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one. I think it's a fantastic film. Very, very funny. I think it holds up very well. A very close second is Ragnarok. Ragnarok, I think, is where they finally like I mean, everything just works perfect. Like they got Hulk perfect. They got Thor perfect. It's just a crazy fun film. That one's really great. And probably number 3 for me would be the first Iron Man.
Yeah.
That's a film that I can kind of go back and watch even to this day and really appreciate what they did with the character, the effects, I mean, it felt like it was a movie where they felt like it was probably the first film where I felt like, oh my God, they just did the comic book. They just took the comic book and they put it on the screen and there it is right there. You know, I think maybe Spider-Man, like the first 2 Spider-Man films were probably very close to that for me as well.
Yeah.
But they made a number of like changes, or it just didn't feel, I don't know. To me, that Iron Man felt like freaking Iron Man. And I had been in a long time. I know like Iron Man at that time was like a kind of a B-list character. It wasn't a character that people really knew. For me, I'd been a long time Iron Man fan. So it was great to see an Iron Man film and to see it just done so well, and especially that very last shot where he's like stands in front of the crowd of people and he's like, I am Iron Man. And then it's like, it cuts the credits and you're like, yes. I mean, it wasn't like he's trying to like hide his superhero identity because he's trying to be the good guy. He's Tony Stark and they got it, and it just set up the entire MCU from there on out. So for me, that's my top 3.
I would agree. First Iron Man, totally watchable. And I feel the same with Iron Man 2. I'm going to say Iron Man 2 just because I know it'll annoy people.
No, I like the second one too. The only bad thing about the first one is the bad guy, terrible bad guy.
Although I like Justin Hammer.
Sure, yeah, me too. I liked him too.
I remember the commentary that Jon Favreau said that basically there's Justin Hammer and Tony Stark. The relationship is Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny. Yeah, and that to me just made me love the movie even more.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think I might actually say Civil War.
Okay.
It's got a great fight scene. It's got a cool espionage angle, and then you got like a cool bad guy that doesn't do what you think he's going to do. You think he's going to reanimate all the people in the cryo tubes or whatever. But he doesn't. He just shoots them all. He just wants the Avengers to cave in on themselves. And he's just remember that?
Who's the bad guy in that? See, this is
the bad guy was I
don't even remember.
Oh God, what was his name? He actually has a name in the comics, but in this he was just that guy that got the little book of the little code word to like activate the Winter Soldier. And then he was a father who lived in the place where the Age of Ultron happened.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And child, and decided he's just a regular guy, but decided I'm just going to destroy the Avengers.
Right.
Set all the stuff up to make them destroy. And there's a little bit of, there's some element that's like, well, how could he predict that? But still, the fact that it was not a very funny villain, very sympathetic. And
sure.
really, I feel like of any villain, you could actually really understand his motivations. The superheroes came in and killed your family, but they're like, "Thanks, everybody," and they all flew off. You might feel a little better towards them.
Right.
That would be my top 3: Iron Man 1, 2, and then Captain America: Civil War.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna catch up a little bit at the end of this podcast, just to say, see how each other are doing. But before that, I will say that is the geekiest thing that I've heard all week.
And hopefully the music is...
And hold for music. We have to put hold. It's not live anymore.
Maybe soon I can figure this out.
No geeksofsteel.com and no emailing us.
Yeah, leave us alone.
It's not going to happen. All right, so music is over. Let's catch up a little bit with each other. Not very long.
I gotta wrap. I've been sitting in front of a computer all day.
That's fine. I mean, we're at 1 hour and 53 minutes right now, so we got a lot. It's been like almost 2 years, man. What's been going on with your life?
Raising a daughter, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
No one told me. I thought that'd be easy. That's the whole reason why Geeks of Steel fell apart.
Well, no, it happens for sure.
It doesn't help that my office is right next to her room.
Oh, yeah.
So
while she's trying to sleep, you gotta.
Yeah, I know. I gotta keep her quiet. Right now, I think she's asleep, so I'm trying to kind of use more hushed tones,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's my whole thing. Being a dad.
Being a cartoonist as well. Is that going well for you there too?
Well, and that's the next thing. I'm trying to figure out how to finally make some goddamn money on this thing. I think it's time to 10-year anniversary of the comic is coming up this October. And I think this is the year to finally start making merchandise, books, cool stuff.
Man, you said that like 2 years ago.
I still have the Kickstarter up. I still have my book almost done and in design. I'm just scared to death of pulling the trigger.
Yeah. You got to do it, man. Got to do it. You got a little one you got to make some money for.
I know. Exactly. What's new with you? You've had way more things happen to you.
What's that?
You've had way more new things happen to you.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I got married.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I was married last time we talked. I bought a house.
And also you got a new daughter with that.
Oh yeah, it's
like the Brady Bunch. Minus what? 4 kids.
Yeah.
You got one additional one.
So I got 2 little girls now. Yeah, we bought a house in a really good school district for a heck of a lot of money. I still got my other house. I'm renting that thing out right now, so I'm like a slumlord. What's that?
Oh, you're renting it?
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't sell it. The market was basically I'm underwater on the house and I can't sell it. So
you could always light a match.
Yeah, I'm working on a model railroad. So.
Oh, that's right. You're starting a new YouTube channel, aren't you?
I started a YouTube channel. It's not great right now, but my plan is to get 1,000 followers by the end of the year. So.
Do you dress up for the videos?
I don't.
You don't put an engineer hat on, a little overall, a little red handkerchief around your neck?
No, they're pretty terrible right now. The hope is that I don't have like a nice camera or anything at the moment. I got to buy a camera because I've been using my iPhone camera right up to this point.
You know better than that.
I know. It's not good. I bought like studio lighting and a microphone and everything, so it looks good and it sounds okay. It's lit well and it sounds okay. Right. But it doesn't look good because my phone's my camera on my phone's. I'm gonna try. You can get like no name brand 4K just cameras that are kind of just made for YouTubing for pretty cheap on like Amazon. So I may look around at some reviews and pick one of those up.
And that's the thing too, is you actually know how to use those cameras.
The good stuff for sure.
Right.
Well, and the problem is like I don't want to spend any time like editing. So, I'm trying to find a way of doing this where I can
like
just
a bunch of right.
Yeah, just kind of do it and get it done and get it out there. Because if it becomes work for me, I'm not going to do it.
That's the same way I was with the podcast. I was like, I spent a lot of time finally figuring out a way to do it all in one go without any editing.
Exactly.
When we first did this podcast, it would take me twice as long to edit the show as it did to record the show.
Yeah, I was editing a lot of those early shows too. Yeah.
It was so much better. I could just play the music live, and just as soon as I was done, I just trimmed off the end and then done. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There's too much work to spend too much time with that. Even still, like when I put out a video, I still got to spend several hours, 3-4 hours editing a video. It's insane the amount of time it takes to do that kind of thing. Anyways, so we were both busy doing our own thing, which happens.
But what's cool is that we just started this just kind of on a whim, and we just fell right back into it.
Oh, yeah.
Like no time passed or anything. And I hope to do it again. I hope to figure this out so we can make this whole thing sound better. Yeah. There's got one dumb thing I'm just not I just don't see. I got one cord plugged where it's not supposed to be, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.